Hello, friends. Welcome back for another part of our pain that we are inflicting on ourselves. That's right, pain. Also, my voice was contributing to that and being like, pain! Alright, anyway. If you're new here, or if you just want a refresher, these are the rules that we have to follow for this colony. Highest difficulty, hardest asteroid, terrible seed, objectively terrible seed, that is. Couple other restrictions that we're putting on ourselves. The one we're dealing with right now is we're not allowed to leave the starting biome until cycle 300. So we are going to have to hunker down in here and survive up until then with just the resources that we're given. So here's the state of our base right now. Looking, I guess, pretty good, all things considered. Between videos, the thing that I really did was just set up these power transformers like I mentioned. But we are going to start having a lot of power problems. Oh, by the way, I did add a smart battery just because it does have less heat generation and less power loss, so I'll get rid of this other one and we'll build a second smart battery here as soon as I get the refined metal for it. So yeah, I did want to mention a couple of other things. One is that I stopped making pickled meals because it's kind of just turning into a waste of time, and our food situation has stabilized, so we will still be just eating omelets and meal lice at this point. And I think we are stable enough to the point that I don't have to worry about preserving food just to kind of hold on to it for a long period of time. So I think we're good there. The other thing is I promised earlier in a comment that I would be ranching the more fancy types of shine nymphs. So if we get any fancy ones here, I will be keeping them. And we'll see what we can do here. But the big focus for this is going to be the fact that we're generating so much power manually. But we have started up our shine bug reactor, and we need to start getting into some other power sources, and one of the sources is going to be solar panels. And we're going to be using solar panels by the power of these shine bugs that we've been building up the entire game. These are incredibly strong if you're in a situation like this, so I haven't really talked about this before, but we're going to be using this both for generating radiation, because it's very radioactive inside here, and for generating solar power, because it is very bright in here also. So that will be something that we're going to be taking advantage of. If we take a look at our research right now, the place that I want to get to is here. I want to be able to start making our solar panels, and we do need a glass forge in order to make those solar panels as well, so I'm going to start working my way through these branches in the tree. But the biggest thing that I need is a way to start getting this applied sciences research. So I think I'm just going to start setting that up now, just so that we can get on top of it. The reason that I want to start setting it up earlier rather than later is because the more that I have to come in here, and especially as I get more shine bugs, the worse the radiation is going to get. So I need to already be kind of careful as far as how I'm going to be doing this. The other thing that I don't know, that I need to experiment with, is whether rad bolts can fly through these pneumatic doors. Everything else passes through it just fine, but I've never actually tested this before. The only way we're going to be able to do this, in terms of getting rad bolts to fly out of there, is either if we take a weird path through the water, or if we can fly through a pneumatic door and set up something down here. Actually, let me put it like this. If we can put it down here, then I will put my research station down here as well, and we will just be generating rad bolts over in this area. This is going to be hilarious to try to build in, because if we start... Oh, I don't even have the research to start generating the rad bolts, so never mind. We have a couple more things we need to do first. But I don't even know, like, if I try to build something, the outline's in white. I won't even be able to see it. So, like, there. There's a ladder being asked to be built in here, but I can't even see it. So, planning something out inside here is going to be interesting. So we'll deal with that. I'm just going to let this run a bit and kind of chat about a few comments here, because it's been a little bit since we've just kind of talked about the comments that have been left as far as other options that could be done. One of the comments that got left on a video a while back, I don't remember which one, was basically, when we leave the biome, how are we going to do that because we don't have reed fibers to make suits? So my duplicants are going to have to deal with this, and this is all still at a very high temperature. And yeah, at that time that the question was asked, I hadn't even thought about that. So yes, we will need to go through this biome without suits and also without losing any duplicants. So we might need to set up a cooling setup or something like that to start cooling like a small section of it, so we can at least get started to push out here and get out to some other biomes. I don't even know what's over here, by the way. There's a geyser. Actually, I wonder if we can see that. Ooh, what is this? Cobalt volcano. I think someone actually told me about this, that there was a cobalt volcano over here. We will grab that, but not right away. Anyway, yeah, so the reed fibers are going to be interesting to get to that point. We're going to need to find Drekos before we can get reed fibers and plastic. So that's going to be kind of a long time before we can get there. Turner is about to have another stress reaction, by the way, because of our low oxygen saturation. Let's follow him around in the meantime to hopefully lower his stress. There we go. So yeah, another comment that I had was about the morbs. There was a couple of them that I wanted to talk about. One of them was, could you potentially just put a layer of water on the bottom here, just to trick the morbs into thinking that there is not as much pressure on the ground as they think, so that they will overproduce oxygen? I have never tested that before. I feel like it would work, but I generally feel like there is a lot of exploits centered around the fact that things take, like, up space in tiles, and there's a lot of things you can do to take advantage of that. I kind of stay away from things that I feel like short-circuit a lot of the intent of the game. So, for example, one of the things... Oh, you can't even see it because there's so much in here. One of the things that I don't really like to short-circuit is the fact that if you build a gas vent or something like that, they will get overpressurized if your pressure on that tile is too high. You can trick these too by being like, oh, you're in water that has like 3 grams, so it's not overpressurized. And it can just endlessly vent, which kind of just breaks the purpose of the building. So I don't really like doing stuff like that. The other thing that was really similar is someone suggested that you could put a thin layer of water up here, and then just line this with deodorizers and turn all these into airflow tiles. Again, very cool idea. I think I will make separate videos specifically about any exploit-related type of things, just to talk about those, because it's worth knowing. But I don't want to do something that I feel like was not intended and just kind of, like, eliminates the spirit of the design of certain things. So I won't be doing that, but if you wanted to try that out on your own run, I would definitely say check it out if you're into it. The other thing with this, too, I've had some questions about, like, and I know we're going back to this conversation again as far as whether morbs are an exploit or not. I kind of don't feel like with the rules we set up that doing it any other way is even possible. It could be possible, but I really don't think so. Like, living 300 cycles in this small biome with only the water that we're given to both, like, eat and get all the achievements and generate oxygen, I don't think it's possible. It could be, and maybe I don't know something, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like you would just run out of resources by this phase of the game if you weren't using morbs, so that's my defense to using morbs when everybody is saying, why do you not like using exploits, but then you use morbs? So anyway, whatever. The other question that I'm going to talk about here is our heat management. We are going to have to come up with a setup eventually to deal with the heat, and mostly when we leave the biome. I'm not worried about more heat getting in because it's going to be so slow. The stuff that we have in here does generate a little bit of heat, and that will start causing a problem for our mealwood eventually. At least right now I'm not that worried, but we will need to get something set up, probably an aqua tuner, and we will need to run some part of our base that's basically just a dumping ground for hot water. So that's the plan, I think, but I don't know when that's going to come up and when we're going to need it. One of the things we're going to need to cool is our glass that we make, so I might just use some of the water that we have and just kind of like put it in a pit and just warm that pit up. I don't know. We'll see. But this video, I think mostly we're just going to be talking about the Shinebug reactor, getting our research going so that we can start generating rad bolts, which off the top of my head I don't even remember where it is. So I'll have to find that, I suppose, and get started on that research. This is really exposing my lack of remembering where things are in the research tree. I typically have to, like, search around for a long time to remember where something is, but yeah, we'll find that so that we can start generating some rad bolts and start setting up parts of the Shine reactor, but I have a lot of research that I need to get out of the way first. So we'll get that, and then we'll start jumping into how to set up the devices to capture radiation, and then we'll go from there. Okay, it's been a long time since we checked in, mainly because this part is just dragging when it comes to progress. I know it looks like some things have changed, but it feels incredibly slow. I think that I made a mistake by going to these gas pumps a little bit earlier, so what I'm going to do is just disconnect them for the time being from their automation so they don't get turned back on. And I'm going to change this so that we just let the oxygen drift out to all the places it needs to go in the meantime. The reason why is it's just consuming too much power and I can't push it very well right now, so I'm just going to add a whole bunch of airflow tiles here for the time being just to kind of open this up and let it drift out. The Shinebug reactor is getting started. I'm not quite there on the research, but I'm having so much time spent of my duplicates just running on these wheels that almost nothing else is getting done. So I do need to adjust that part of the strategy a little bit. Our research for generating rad bolts and being able to bounce the rad bolts where we need to go is on the way. I'm just going to place one in the middle here. And my concern is that if we're running both the gas pumps and the rad bolt generator, that's going to be incredibly expensive, and I don't think I'm going to be able to afford both. So that is one of the challenges of this. I don't have a lot of labor to go around, and I don't have any other power sources, so we're just going to have to shut some things down that we want to use, but isn't really helping us that much. So I'm just going to move a few shine bugs in here, and we're just going to kind of go back to our old method of cleaning the air here in by just sending some shine bugs in the middle, and we will get the gas pumps back up here in just a second. But I do need the other power sources before we do that, otherwise we just will not be able to power everything that we need. So let's move like 5 in here, something like that. The actual station itself, the material study terminal, this is what's going to consume the rad bolts. Notice that I'm putting up against a wall because the flight of the rad bolts, I want to be away from my duplicates. Remember, if any duplicate dies, then we lose the game. We have to start over. And getting hit by rad bolts is a good way to have duplicates get hurt and potentially die if they lay on the ground for too long. So because of that, you definitely want to control the flight path the best you possibly can, and that's what we're going to be doing here. So yeah, I'll just continue to get the setup going. You won't even be able to see what's being built here. But the idea is basically going to be putting up just a single rad bolt generator. I don't have the research for it yet, but let's pretend this is a rad bolt generator. Just going to be kind of putting it in the middle of this room here, pointing it in a direction that can hopefully fly through this pneumatic door. I'm still not sure if this is actually going to allow it to pass through. If it can't, we're just going to have to bounce it through the water. And kind of send it down at a weird angle, but we'll figure that out when the time comes. But I'll get that built out, and as soon as we start researching, we'll check back, now that I should have more free duplicate time after we get all these additional tiles built. So yeah, that was definitely not the greatest use of power here. I actually did experiment with this a little bit in my practice runs, and I just can't get the feel for when we need to actually start using these gas pumps, so just going to shut them down for now, and we'll go back to using them in just a little bit to get all of our base's air pressure up. We might have some air pressure problems in the meantime, but that's going to be worth it, knowing that we'll actually have enough power to power everything that we need. And not being able to power the rad bolt generator is a big problem, because it'll start to decay and we'll lose it and just waste all that power, so we definitely need this to be more stable. Taking a shine bug from there to here woke up a bunch of my duplicates. That's great. That little minor thing could potentially cause some more stress reactions, so that's fun. Okay, well, we're not going to do this smoothly. We're just going to be a big struggle bus. All right, so I'll just get all this stuff up, and we'll start generating rad bolts soon. Okay. Finally got a design on this that I liked. It's been a long time since I checked in, only because I've had to rebuild this a couple times, just because I forgot that rad bolts will just kill the shine bugs and stop the rad bolts from flying if the rad bolts are flying through the room. So I just built a rad bolt generator down here at the bottom that we're going to use to then get into our material study terminal so we can get the rest of this research done. So, a couple other concerns is I really need duplicants to be on these manual generators. And this is going to be the instance of, like, these duplicants on these generators are just barely going to be able to push this and everything else, which is why we had to shut down our gas pumps. Ironically enough, the air pressure in the base is actually better without using the gas pump, so it was probably best that I did that anyway. And we'll get back to this if we need to deal with a larger base only on these morbs, but for right now, I think I'm actually just going to keep the gas pumps off for the foreseeable future, I suppose. So everything seems okay with that, and it's better off not using these. So if you're planning on doing this challenge yourself, don't even bother with this at these earlier stages. Okay, let's get this shine bug reactor going. So I'm just going to connect up the automation wire, which is just hooked into the material study terminal. And we're generating about 40, 50-ish rad bolts a day. So not too bad of a rate, all things considered, especially since I can't confine these shine bugs into like a small room and generate it that way. Otherwise, they're not going to relay their eggs and keep up the population. So the other challenge with this too is duplicants having to go in here and build stuff will give them radiation sickness pretty quickly. So they are just at a minor level right now, but there was a couple instances where they were at major radiation sickness, which means that they start throwing up and causing problems and all kinds of stuff. So that was an issue. The other thing with this too is I have it on its own dedicated transformer, along with a couple other things that don't really matter that much, but trying to run a heavy watt wire through these doors would have also been a huge pain, so I just ran it off of a regular power transformer. Now all we need to do is just keep our research up until we get into the actual glass forge so we can make a solar panel. So we'll get those two researches here. I'll actually just start on this one since we don't have the rad bolts to do the research quite yet. But we really need to make sure to keep the power on, because if the power ever goes off, then we just lose these rad bolts, and we spent all that power and all that heat for nothing. Speaking of heat, we will need to deal with that at some point. We kind of don't have the power to push a lot of our potential cooling options right now. So I want to get the solar panel up first. I'll just kind of get it out, and we're just going to have to deal with the heat for the time being, because this is just going to continuously generate heat without any kind of cooling happening right now. We will definitely need to solve that before we leave, but yeah, lots of slow progress, lots of redoing builds, lots of trying to get things optimized here, but I think this is about as good as we can get. So I'll just continue on the path for that research, and as soon as we're ready for the glass forge, we can start thinking about how we're going to deal with that and cool off the glass so it hardens down into a solid. Yeah. I also need to start worrying about my water too, because my water's starting to get backed up. As you can see, almost all my toilets are all backed up here, so we may just start creating the pool for creating glass. Maybe I'll just put it... No, I don't want to put it over there. I need to put it far away from my mealwood, so maybe I should put it over there. I'm trying to find a good place for this. I'm just going to create a pool of water that we can actually cool off the glass, and then this water will get warm, but it eventually will be something that we need to just kind of section off and not use anymore. So we'll do that eventually. We'll get the glass forge up. We'll work on all that stuff, probably over here. And I'll start working on getting all the water and stuff funneled into the right place while we're waiting for rad bolts. Okay, we have our glass forge now, and solar panels are almost done researching. We just need one more round of rad bolts. So those are on the way right now. Once those finish, I'll probably just disconnect this rad bolt generator so that we can save as much power as possible for the glass forge, because it's going to use up a decent amount. And there's no reason to continue researching if there's nothing else we're trying to get. So I will be turning that off. The situation that we're in right now, I am just realizing, and I don't know why I'm realizing it this late, how dire our water situation is. This water that right here and this water right here is literally all we have for the next 130 cycles. Now, fortunately, we're not really dependent on it that much for like food and stuff like that, but we will need at least something so that we can create water locks when we start getting out into this area. And we don't have any form of cooling right now, so There is quite a few things that need to be done here before we can safely start to leave. So this is a really weird situation that we're going to have to use some kind of strange tactics to recover from, I think. The only water production that we have is that when a duplicant uses the bathroom, they will put out more water than they actually use. So, we are going to encourage them to use the bathrooms more, and these are some scheduling tricks that people have told me about that I should try using. So we're going to do both of them at the same time. I'm just going to set their entire day to bath time, and what that's going to do is encourage them to use the bathroom more often throughout the day, and they will work if they don't have to use the bathroom. So yeah, you can see right here, once they're all caught up on personal hygiene, they'll head back to work. This will encourage them to use the bathroom twice a day. Someone was actually recommending that I use this to fill outhouses more quickly, and I probably could have and should have back then, but I didn't for whatever reason. I think that that window had passed by the time I got that comment. So the scheduling that we're going to try here is both that, and people are encouraging me to use their sleeping blocks as break time. I'm not sure this is going to work, only because we use sleep for more than just a necessity throughout the day. We use it to lower stress. So I'm going to run like this for a little bit, and if it becomes too much of a problem where my duplicants aren't sleeping enough, then I will change this. I'm going to take a look and see how their stamina is doing over the next couple days. But we do need to force out as much water as possible. So I think the idea here is that they will use the toilets if their bladders are ever higher than a certain percentage, as opposed to like an emergency or something like that. So we'll see how this goes. We have our glass forge. Let's start to get that up. We're going to go ahead and put it over here, and I'm just going to drain the contents of the glass down into this water. This water is going to start to get really hot. And I'm also going to move the water that's in here over to this pit, only because I want all the water that I have in one spot to absorb all this heat, so we can absorb and distribute as much as possible. And then the water that we have here, I'm going to use for either water locks when we leave the base, or I'm going to use for more research. Now, research is our biggest water user right now, so I need to only grab the things that we absolutely need right now. So I don't think I'm going to continue research until we actually need something that's listed here. So that will be interesting. We're doing some weird stuff to try to survive this part of the build, or rather the run. So let me get the glass forge up. Let's hook this up to power here. Actually, how much does this consume? I don't even know off the top of my head. A lot. Holy moly. Okay. This is going to be interesting. I may need to run some heavy watt wire down here, or I'm going to need to hook up some refined metal for power to this thing. Man, this is really inconvenient. I think I will probably just run a heavy watt wire down here, because if we have a solar panel, we're going to need one here anyway, and I'm actually going to try to sneak in a second one once we have enough glass right here and expand this room out a little bit. So let me disconnect our rad bolt generator here really quick. We don't really need that anymore. Okay, so let me set this up really quickly. Let me move the water, and then we'll start producing glass and see how much we wind up heating up this water. I don't want it to get too hot, because otherwise it's going to disperse everywhere else and put my mealwood at threat, which is the biggest temperature issue. If I need to, I will start doing a little bit more drastic measures to protect that. Our mealwood is hanging in there. It's doing okay. We have a lot of material that we could mine out here to help keep it cool. But yeah, this stretch of the run is going to be interesting, and I don't really know how it's going to go. So I guess I'll just kind of start building everything out. Okay, yeah, I don't understand the recommendation to get the sleep blocks and turn them into break blocks. Duplicants just kind of fall asleep anywhere around the map, and that can cause all kinds of problems. Them sleeping on the ground, of course, is not good by default, but they could fall asleep in a place where they don't have a good amount of light. They're not getting the bonus from the barracks anymore, so I don't understand what the point of that is. Leave a comment if you have more explanation on this, but yeah, I don't really get what that's for. Anyway, I think we're pretty close to having this done. We just need a few more blocks of heavy watt wire. Can wait for a duplicant to get in there and do that. So, yeah, I just want to provide an update on that. I really don't understand what that's for. So, please let me know if you know what's going on. That's not a good place for this vent. Alright, anyway, we'll get that done. By the way, we are getting totally overrun with cuddle pips by this point. Which, I don't know, I'm okay with. We'll just have a big cuddle pip farm so our duplicants can walk by occasionally and get some hugs and whatever. But yeah, this is getting out of hand, how many cuddle pips we have. Oh well, they seem fine. They're not unhappy. They're not causing any problems, so I guess we'll just let them grow. Alright, I think we're ready to start glass. So what we need for a solar panel, and I'm just going to start with one. We need 200 kilograms of glass, and each one of these produces 25. So we need 8 rounds of this. And I have no idea how this is going to affect the water that's down here. I bet it's going to raise it by probably like 4 or 5 degrees in total, but I guess we'll see. We can't afford for it to get too hot, and this area in general is just going to be rather hot. Our mealwood's still really not under threat. There's enough material to buffer in the way for the time being, but this corner, I think we're just going to have it be a little bit warm. And this, again, just to kind of review what we're doing this for. I guess we could technically not do this, but the idea that I'm going for is not having to spend so much time with duplicants running on these generators to keep the base running. I'd rather just have solar panels do it for me, so that when we actually do venture out, we don't need to have duplicants back here worrying about this. They can be off helping us expand and explore stuff, so that's the idea that we're setting up here, but I don't know if this is a bad idea or not. I guess we'll see. The heat that's going to be coming off of this is going to be kind of substantial, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see. I'm not sure if we're going to get into aqua tuners when we're stuck in the base like this, because we need to spend so much more water to research that. And the aqua tuners will give us some cooling, but I don't know if it's going to really give us that much that's going to be all that useful. So, I don't know. We'll see. Did he finish that? Where is it? Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I mean, this isn't horrible. It's already, you can already see the temperature rising a bit. There's also a good amount of material in here to help absorb it, so that, I guess, helps out a little bit. The other thing that I could do is all this hot material that's over here is still, I guess, cooler than the potential that this water could be. So if this hot material is becoming a problem, I could start to like draw lines as far as what is too hot to still be over here, and just mine this stuff out and carry it over and drop it in this area so that we have like a big buffer area of just like medium temperatured things to try to help out with the cooling that we need to deal with. So let's see, we have some glass here. The glass is still cooling down. Once we get enough for the solar panel, we'll get it installed and we will start generating some power from it. I may go up to 2 solar panels depending on how much this actually puts out compared to how much temperature it increases. So yeah, I don't know. So far so good, but we'll keep an eye on it and we'll get there. Okay, glass has been produced. We have enough for 1 solar panel, and our water really didn't raise temperature that high, so kind of happy with how that went. And I really do actually like the idea of mining out all the hot material and kind of putting in the corner. So I'm going to do that with my duplicants, but let's get this solar panel up. So solar panel, I'm just going to go ahead and toss it in here. I did build this like as tight as I could so that we could get just 1 in there. And still be able to fit everything we have in this room. Still can't see anything because it's so bright, but I think what I'm going to do, since I want to fit 2 in here, is I might just open these tiles up. I don't have a great way to do this otherwise, especially since I don't want any shine bugs getting over here. So once we produce enough for the second panel, I will probably put it like right here and then extend out this room a little bit further. Because I'm pretty sure that this solar panel is going to be fully powered by how much light we have going on in here. It's pretty insane. So I think we'll be fine in terms of expanding that. And the walls here, yes, they're hot. I'm not allowed to mine through the granite. There's just not enough space here. And I'd have to rebuild everything and push it over to the side one. Since this is already going to be kind of a hot corner anyway, honestly, we might get to a point where this is going to help us rather than hurt us. in terms of all the temperature that's sitting out here if this water or the material winds up getting hotter than we expect. So, I don't know. I think it's worth trying, but we'll see. Could be, again, some more famous last words. Come on. Aw. It's gonna start getting some radiation sickness from being near all these shine bugs. Come on, Abe, finish us up. You can build through the door. Nice. Okay, there we go. We are at pretty much full power. It's not quite there, but yeah, 380. We're at 302. This is basically like having one duplicate running on a generator at all times. So, pretty good. I'm going to create a second solar panel and kind of extend this out. And then in the meantime, I'm going to find all the material that is too hot for my mealwood and start moving it over there. So like all this stuff, you can kind of tell by the color. Everything like to the left of this is probably too hot. So I'm just going to have my duplicant start to run all of the material that's a little bit too warm, drop it in this pool of water just so we have as big of a buffer as possible if we need to start using this for some type of cooling. So, yeah, I don't really know how that's going to go, but that's going to be the plan, just to try to squeeze this out the best we can. So yeah, I'll be busy doing that for a little bit. Alright, we got our 2 solar panels here, just generating some energy for us. Not many shine bugs are going to pass down here, but eventually they will kind of trickle down there over time, and we'll get a little bit better balance. This is mainly for when we get more shine bugs to balance out. This will only be able to go up to 380. So we'll be able to get a second one there. So I figure we might as well max that out eventually over time. But for right now, it's not really hurting anything by being there. So there we go. Got a decent amount of solar energy going on. I'm going to focus on getting my shine bug population risen even more. So I have not been feeding these because I don't really know why. All I need to do is just find any of the phosphorite around the map and bring it in here. So if I find little pockets of it like that, just kind of bring it in there and have my duplicants run it to these shine bugs so that they can eat. And yeah, we'll just continue to build up this population the best we can, but we've kind of accomplished what we're after here. Generated a bunch of radiation, generated a bunch of power, so we're in a little bit better shape than I think we were at the start of this video. In the meantime, I think I'm just going to be focusing on sweeping all this stuff and kind of maintaining the temperature around my mealwood. It's still fine, no real worries right now, but we're not quite halfway through the whole, like, isolation period, I guess, that we are in. Man, this room is getting really full of stuff. We're in the middle of that isolation period, so we do need to at least make sure that we can survive for up to 300 cycles, and then once we can, we will start venturing out, but we will need some stuff to deal with what's out here. We'll need to come up with a plan of how to traverse and get out here and kind of figure out what we're actually looking for once we get on the map. So we'll be talking about a little bit of that in the next one. We may mess around with some cooling, but there might be a kind of large gap between the time of the end of this video and when we pick up the next time, only because I do want to keep these more interesting and not just have like nothing going on here. So that'll be the plan when we come back. So I'm not sure exactly what cycle it'll be, but rest assured, if anything interesting happens, I will pick up recording the next video when that does get there. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please let me know what you thought about it. If you have any questions or anything like that, or any suggestions, I've been taking as many suggestions as I can. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.